Deebo Samuel signs with the 49ers. What does that mean for Ricky Pearsall? What does that mean for the other 49er receivers, including Deshaun Stribling? We're going to talk about that tonight. I feel like a lot has changed since we talked to our co-host 3 weeks ago. So there's a lot to go over. We're going to have some cool stuff from Mike here. Before we intro and everything and start a draft, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, something for the merch store is our September is Lust Month t-shirt. I was actually in Las Vegas. I was flying home. I was wearing my August is Gluttony Month t-shirt. And the Asian woman at the Port of Subs was like, it's like, what is that shirt? August is Gluttony Month? And I had explained it to her. And she's like, what is September? I was like, Lust Month. She's like, oh, I was born in September. And then she started talking to her friend about it. She's like, oh, I was born in Lust Month. So before this gets big and the prices of these shirts get out of control, you can get these shirts here, 20% off sale right now. You can change these shirts into any color or long sleeve hoodie, women's tank top, and infant onesie. You can get our mouse pad, playing cards. We have baby bibs, blankets, aprons, baseball caps, mugs, so much more here. 20% off sale. You go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Strikes of the College Years, where I made fun of a lot of people. I was at Penn State for 6 years. So this is a book about all my fun adventures there. And then Safety and a Field Goal, which is a top 5 topic book about the NFL. And please consider super chats and super stickers. That is the best way to support the show. Kevin Kovac gave us $25 worth of super chats on Tuesday. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate it. It really helps us out so much because, as I always say, YouTube pays us very little. Kenny was joking on Tuesday that we would get like 51 cents on a normal show. So with Kevin's help, we got $25.51. So thank you so much, Kevin. But we're joined by Mike Luchene from NFLRoughDraft.com. Mike, how are you?
I'm great. Hey, I heard about some great things that you did over in Vegas. Sounds like you had a lot of fun over there. Yeah. Happy to be back. Happy to have training camp open. It's always kind of a fun time of the year. And then you have a lot of movement in ADP right around these first couple of weeks too. So it's always fun to parse through that and see where players end up going.
Yeah, when we do the draft, we can take a look at it and see what has changed. Like I said, a lot has changed in the past 3 weeks. Something else has changed. You finished your draft board for fantasy. So now that you're done this, has like something stand out to you where you're like, oh, I had this guy way earlier or way later than I thought it would, or like I have a position that I thought would be like it's going later or earlier, or is it, or did it was like kind of status quo? You're like, oh, this is what I expected. Like, what was the end result of your research there?
No, so I have a lot of changes that are they don't really stack up with ADP. So my chart is for lineup leagues, not for best ball, and one quarterback. But I also make my chart for FFPC, which is high stakes tight end premium, because that's just the format that I play the most. I have a lot of players that are kind of not where they get drafted. I've just moved Malik Neighbors actually up to the 5th round today because he's been practicing. I'm still not comfortable with him in the 4th round. I think you have to be careful with, what you hear the first couple of days of practice. It's nice that he came out and practiced for 20 minutes and whatever, played catch. Like beat writers, no disrespect to beat writers, but like when they're like, yeah, Malik Neighbors threw a perfect spiral to Jackson Dart and then they hugged each other. Like, all right, that's great, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be ready for week 1. So I'm not opposed to moving him up higher than that, but he's still going round 4. I wouldn't be shocked if he went in round 3 tonight, and that's still a little bit too early for me. And there are a bunch of, we've talked about Bucky Irving a lot. I've got him in round 4. He goes in round 5 or 6. Roma Dunze. I've got Roma Dunze in round 4. He goes later than that. Yeah, exactly. I moved him up to the 5th round. So I'm really big on not letting ADP or other people's opinions sort of mess with my initial chart. Just because I think in the fantasy community, you get a lot of groupthink. You get a lot of people who, right? They absolutely. They form an opinion and everybody jumps on the bandwagon. And I feel like I know enough about football to form my own opinions. That said, and I'm not going to go through all these guys. I'll go over one more. One player that, Walt, you convinced me on, and I actually moved him up a little bit, is Parker Washington.
Nice.
First, earlier back in May or whenever we did our first best ball draft together this year, I was like, all right, you're a Penn State guy. No, we got Parker Washington here. But the drumbeat just continues to, to whatever drumbeat does, beat.
Yeah.
For Parker Washington. And, there's more positive news out of camp today. So I've got him in the 6th round, which is where he goes. But I was opposed to taking him in the 6th round before now. So, hat tip to you. You got me. You got me there on Parker Washington.
Oh, that's awesome. Glad to hear it. I felt like on this channel, I've been the only person who was pro Parker Washington. So glad to hear that you're on my side. I still have to convince Kenny. He's not quite there yet, but we'll maybe we'll get him there. But that's awesome. Yeah, you're absolutely right about the groupthink part of fantasy football. I was actually listening to a show today, actually a big show that people have heard of. And they were like, the show was like how the first round should go. And it was a 2-person. They went back and forth. One, he had some good opinions. He had, differing opinions at least. The other guy, it was like, he just went down ADP. It's like, can you go out on a limb, like a little bit? Maybe like try to climbing up the tree at all. It was just straight down ADP. It was pretty embarrassing. I don't know if I want to mention the show, but it was pretty bad. I was just Hayden Winks. It was like, come on, man. Like he just went straight down ADP. It's like, come on. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you can use ADP because like in my chart, I annotate if I've got I've got Roma Dunze in the 4th round. I'm probably not taking Roma Dunze in the 4th round. Right next to that, I have a green 5-6. So it's a lot of people like this chart and use this chart, and I don't need to see the green 5 and 6, but I explain to people, all right, that 5-6 is there and it's green. It's showing you he goes later. So even though I have him here, you could probably pass on him in the 4th round, take him in the 5th round.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. You're not gonna, if you're willing to spend, I don't know, if like a new video game comes out, you're like, I'd spend $100 on it. Like it's selling 50. Like here's 100. Like you don't do that, right? It's just do it smartly. Try to get the most players, most talented players possible, and then you get a Dunze in the 5th round instead of the 4th. So that makes sense. Josh and Hayden are great. I do like the back and forth with them. Josh is a smart guy. I think Hayden's too inside the box for me. I feel like he never goes on a limb. But they are entertaining, so I guess that's what their job is. Okay, so and let's sign up for a draft right now. And as we wait, I wanted to pick your brain on what the Niners did today. Yesterday. Let me start yesterday. Ricky Pearsall, and we start in 2 minutes. We can talk as it happens. We're the 10th pick. I'm going to have odd rounds. You're going to have evens. Ricky Pearsall yesterday, there was news that he aggravated his PCL, which was bothering him last year, and there might be surgery. And so Deshaun Stribling was someone I was more enthusiastic on. I drafted him a bunch last night. And then Deebo Samuel, if you haven't heard, he signed with the Niners like an hour ago. So to, I guess, compensate for Pearsall. And I think at this point, Pearsall is pretty undraftable. If you want to take him like last couple rounds, you want to take a shot on him, okay. But I wouldn't touch him at this point. Stribling, I would have moved up, but now I think you move him back to where he was. And Deebo, probably around 9 or so, around 10. That's kind of where I thought he maybe would go. What do you think about the Niners moves here in the injury of Pearsall?
Yeah, I was really angry to see it, not because I don't like the move, but I was telling Walt before the show that, I was going to say that I could see the 49ers signing one of these veteran free agents. And they've been connected to Deebo Samuel, not just because he played there, but in rumors, the last couple of weeks. So Pearsall looks like he's possibly out for the season.
Yeah.
You have to think the news is pretty bad if they went out and signed Deebo Samuel. I like Stribling. I still like Stribling. I still think he gets a little bit of a bump. So I'm fine with that. And I'm not overreacting either to the first 3 days of practices. he's reportedly been good. We don't really know yet, though.
Right.
With Deebo, I've got him in the 10th round right now. I think the 9th round makes sense. This news is very fresh. It happened an hour ago. The area where I think he could be really intriguing, of course, he's going to play wide receiver. I think he can factor into the handcuff running back spot there too. So Jordan James and Black from Indiana are there. Jordan James got hurt the other day. He's got a rib injury. He's going to miss some time. I'm not super concerned with that because, he might be back in time for the regular season. But we've seen them use Deebo in that role before. And you've got two guys who virtually have no experience, even though I know Jordan James was a rookie last year. He didn't really play, though. So he's very interesting to me because he could contribute as a receiver, but might also be the handcuff. Like if McCaffrey got hurt in the preseason, it really wouldn't shock me if Deebo Samuel was starting running back in week 1.
Geez, man, that's bad news for my 18th round where I've been alternating Kalen Black and Jordan James. When I heard the James news, I was like, oh, I'll just take Black over and over again, which I did last night. Except for one draft, I got Black every time in round 18. So that's not good to hear that. But I do think there's something to that. I don't think he would be the full-time running back. I think they would definitely split touches. I was going to take James Cook. So much for that. Now, there's a guy I like here, but he tends to fall to like 203, 204. So, although you have the even pick. Okay, maybe I should just take this guy then. You have the even pick. So I'm going to take Omarion Hampton. I like him a lot. So what are your where did Hampton come in your board?
Yeah, I've got him 11. You took him 10, and so right there, so I've actually got him 9, I guess, because I have him 11, but I have Bowers and McBride ahead of him because this is again tight end premium 1.5 PPR. Those players are first round picks in that format. So I guess I would have him 9 if it were just a regular league like this. So I think that's a good pick. I also think that this is an area where you just take running backs and we're up.
We're going to be up after this next bit. Okay, Pickens one. Wow. Okay. You have your pick of Genty, Barkley, Walker, AJ Brown, Chase Brown, Henry, and then so who do you like here?
Yeah, I think it comes down to Genty or Brown. I think they both make sense. Do you have a preference there? Because I really don't. I would mix it up if I had a bunch of leagues.
I have Genty higher, but I have more Genty than Brown. So
let's take Genty. Take Genty. I think there's a bucket at the end of the first round where you should just be taking running backs, and Hampton's in that bucket. A-Chain's in that bucket. Genty, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, who I just mentioned. James Cook. I actually don't have Saquon Barkley there, and maybe that'll bite me, but Saquon Barkley was a league loser last year. If you took him in the first round, he's going to be 30 years old late in the season, but 30 years old this season. And, again, all those carries from the 1 yard line are the tush push, and they're Jalen Hurts touchdowns. So I'm a little bit out on Barkley in that group, although I can understand why people like him there. I think that the end of the first round, though, is an area for running backs. Although here you see Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb going. I think you could justify them certainly in that range too. I have Jefferson actually ahead of those backs.
Well, in reference to Jefferson, we had, I don't know if you call it news, but out of Minnesota training camp, through 2 days, all accounts or many of the accounts are saying that JJ McCarthy has outperformed Kyler Murray. I'd still say Murray would be the starter right now, but that really worries me. If I see that, I'm like, oh, I'm not thinking JJ McCarthy's good. I'm thinking Murray's just terrible. So if it's JJ McCarthy, or at least so far with the news, does that scare you off Jefferson at all?
If it ended up being JJ McCarthy, that would definitely scare me off. But am not believing that. I've heard the same thing you have. I saw that, but 2 days into
I saw your
camp,
reply to that. I saw your reply to that.
yeah. I mean, um, I think that's Kyler Murray all day as the starter, and unless JJ McCarthy has somehow taken some gigantic leap forward, as you see third-year quarterbacks do every now and then. But even if that were the case, JJ McCarthy, Tom Brady, both former Michigan quarterbacks. JJ McCarthy at like 12 years old right now this is a real stat, has missed more games to injury than Tom Brady did in his entire career. So even if McCarthy were to win the job, I can't see him keeping it.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's a crazy stat. That's wild. We were talking about Neighbors. He went 302. So that's way too rich for me. I don't know. I maybe late fourth at this point. I think that's where I'd start thinking about it, but I can't do it either. We saw actually we had one comment about a rookie receiver getting hurt. Yeah, Chris Brazel from the Panthers got hurt.
Out for the season.
Yeah. Does the OC change in Philly boost Barkley? Yeah. What do you think about that? Does going to Sean Mannion as opposed to what they had last year? Does that? I mean, obviously you're down on Barkley, but that didn't sway you at all to upgrade Barkley.
No, I like a lot of these running backs in that range, and so if you're taking Barkley there, he's is he going to be ripping off 50-yard touchdowns every other play like he did 2 years ago? That was kind of a special season. He's not going to catch a ton of passes just because Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, and he's not going to check down as much as like a Kirk Cousins would, or a less mobile quarterback. And then we see it with rushing touchdowns. It's Jalen Hurts every time the ball's inside, the 1 yard line. And I think that really hurts him as well. And then again, you have to factor in a 29-year-old running back with a history of injuries, where a couple of years ago had an outrageous amount of touches, and they went all the way to the Super Bowl and just had, I believe it was over 400 touches. That's a factor too. So yeah. I personally have Barkley outside of that range. I've got him in the second round still, but late in the second. But that's just me. I understand the reasoning for having him in that bucket as well.
I just like Breece Hall talk about running backs are going to get more receptions because the quarterbacks aren't mobile. Like compare Geno to Justin Fields. Yeah, Barkley last year. Well, before I continue, you have to make your picks. So in 2 picks, you're up. The best players available are Kyron Williams, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Colson Loveland, Jalen Waddle, who just went. Josh Jacobs just went. Tedero McMillan, Travis Etienne, Luther Burden, McLaurin, Montgomery Moore, Adam Swift. So who do you like here?
Yeah, I've got Zay Flowers already got drafted, right?
Yeah.
He's not there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go. You know what? You'll hate this. Let's go Loveland.
I knew as soon as you said you're gonna hate this. Yep. Oh no, he got taken. All
right. Oh, then we're going T. Higgins. Higgins. Okay. I like T. Higgins. Again, I think Burrow, people worry about Burrow's health because he's missed a couple of seasons. But if Joe Burrow's healthy, T. Higgins could easily finish as a top 12 receiver. And getting him in the 4th round, I just think is a value.
Okay. As going back to Barkley, I saw a stat that he was 35th out of 38 in explosive runs last year. That worries me, especially coming off the season where he had so many carries. Feels like that kind of just drained him out of what he had. And given his age, like we may not see that again. Yep. And also with the offensive line, like Lane Johnson gets hurt every year now, and he's trending towards late 30s. And the new lineman they got instead of like Isaac Solomalo and Jason Kelsey, like they haven't been that good compared to those older guys. So that is would worry me with Barkley. I still have him like, let's say like 15th overall or 16th overall. So, but I would rather have like Hampton, rather have Achane, rather have Genty. Chase Brown is, PPR, I think I'd rather have him than Barkley. Maybe standard rather Barkley, but yeah, I do have concerns there. And it's funny he fell to 208. The guy took 2 30-year-old running backs with McCaffrey and Barkley. So I thought that was pretty funny. So a lot of risk there for sure. Okay, so did you want to talk about why you wanted Loveland there? Because we didn't get a chance to draft him.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to this is one of our probably our only really big disagreement with the roster construction. I really like to have one of the top few tight ends if I think they have a chance to score 16 or 17 points per game. And the reason I say that is because once you get to around 16 points per game, you're in wide receiver 1 territory. So that's a top 12 wide receiver. And well, I'm not telling you already know that, obviously. I'm just for the viewers. That's a top 12. That's a number 1 receiver on a fantasy team. And I just think if you could lock in of a top 12 fantasy wide receiver at the tight end position, that gives you an immense advantage over your opponents and especially in best ball, because the later round tight ends, maybe it's evolved a little bit from back in the 90s and the early 2000s where you're hoping for a 5-yard touchdown and that's it.
Right.
But it's still like, all right, hopefully he has 3 receptions and hopefully one of those receptions is a touchdown. Whereas if you have like a Brock Bowers, or last year, Trey McBride averaged 18.5 points per game. I don't think he'll get there again, but Bowers could get to 18.5 points per game. Anyway, you have someone averaging 16, 17, 18 points per game in your tight end position most weeks. Now, your last wide receiver spot might be a deep threat who could catch a 50-yard touchdown. Like some of these guys like Rashid Shaheed that, you draft later, or Ryan Flournoy. And I just think you have more upside there where, you could have a wide receiver could have a really big play for a touchdown, whereas that's not usually going to happen as much for tight ends. It's usually like, all right, hopefully he has 3 catches and hopefully one of them's a touchdown.
I think the difference, how we see it, I just like a lot of the late round tight ends. Like I think there's just so much value there. And it feels like it's different this year where it seems like there's so many guys who could get up to 16, and maybe we'll talk about them later. But if you're right and there aren't those guys at the end, then that definitely makes sense to take a tight end early. But again, it's a position where you only have one player starting and it's not 2 or 3. I'd rather go running back and then receiver.
You see your ups?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of going running backs, I took our 4th running back, which I think I'm trying to get 5 in the first 8 rounds, and then I don't really have to worry about the position at all. And it goes with what you're saying. Like, yeah, you can find like a Ryan Flournoy late or Jaden Higgins like 13th round or something. Parker Washington just won. But like, you can't find that sort of running back late. Like you need to count an injury for that to happen. But with receivers, like you're going to find 2nd and 3rd receivers on teams where you can just get guys for value. You're up in the next pick. We have Adunze, Joe Burrow, Price, Drake May, Brian Thomas Jr., Jordan Tyson, Harrison Jr., Jane Daniels, Cale Williams, Pollard, Quentin Johnston, Warren, Jalen Hurts, Metcalf, Stevenson, Godwin, Prescott. So what are you thinking? We still have to wait on this guy.
I mean, it's Adunze for me. I have him at the end of the 4th round in my rankings. He's healthy. He was really good before he got hurt last year. And again, I think once you get into this range where you're in the 5th or 6th or 7th round, if you could draft one of these players at any position that has a chance to ascend into, the 2nd or 1st round of next year's fantasy redraft leagues, I think you have to take those shots because it also doesn't kill you to miss on a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
So Adunze is a guy I could see taking a huge step forward and being looked at as, a late 1st rounder or a 2nd rounder in redraft next year. You look at the other receivers going in this range. Like, I just don't think you're getting that same upside from Michael Pittman. I I don't even think you're getting that upside from Parker Washington. I think you're going to have some Parker Washington games, some Brian Thomas games, maybe a Jacoby Myers game or two thrown in there. So I just love the upside there.
So concern you at all about the injury? Because he talked about how he said something like, I don't know the exact quote, but he's like never going to be 100% ever again, or it's never going to be the same again, right? He said something like that concerning his injury.
New normal, the new normal.
Yeah.
He
Right.
clarified it, and he said he was like, "I'm completely fine. It came out
Okay.
the wrong way, something like that."
Okay.
So, I'm really not concerned. And I think you look at Luther Burden going in the 4th round. I know Luther Burden was good at the end of last season, but I'm not convinced Luther Burden is a better. He's not gonna score more points than Rome Dunze this year. No, it's possible, but I think Odunze is the guy.
Okay. Yeah, I like Burden more in PPR, but not standard. I think I like Odunze more in standard. To me, like Burden plays in the slot, which with Ben Johnson's a good thing, and he was the guy Ben Johnson drafted. Like he was his guy. Like Odunze was there before him. So that I think that kind of could signal that he could be really good. But it is a pretty it is a pretty wide disparity here. Like 4th round versus 408 versus 603.
Yeah.
Like there is something to that. And if Odunze is healthy, then yeah, you could definitely argue that they should be very close together, not almost 2 rounds apart.
Yeah.
So did you have any considerations taking Burrow at 603, considering that we had Higgins? Or did you just didn't want to take a quarterback?
I just feel like there are so many quarterbacks. I know we would have had the stack.
Yeah.
But, we still have the possibility for Caleb Williams, and whatever other receivers and tight ends we take.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I was like, I know Burrow's not going to come back to us. First of all, this Chase guy would take him, I would assume. But like at the same time, like you can get like a really good quarterback a little bit later, and you can get a great receiver or running back here. Maybe not running back because I think Irving was the last one to go. But I always think about that. Like my rule with taking quarterbacks is it's like if I don't like any of the running backs or the receivers, then I'll take a quarterback. That's how I feel. Like it feels like round seven is the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a stat. Well, it wasn't a stat. I guess it was kind of like a tidbit. It's one of the 49ers beat writers. I wish I remember which one it was. But it was talking about how Brock Purdy needs 147 more attempts to qualify for career passer rating. And if his next 147 attempts are just in line with what he's done, he'll be the highest rated passer in NFL history.
Wow.
And I mean, he's like quarterback 12 or 13 in ADP, or maybe even like quarterback 14. So there's just so many good quarterbacks this year.
Yeah. So I don't have even picks. I have odd picks, and my round 8 pick is always Blake Corum. So I'm just going to take him round 7, so you can make your decision round 8. Okay.
Yeah, I would have taken Blake Corum.
Okay.
Well.
All right.
I mean, I'm a huge Blake Corum fan. I think I had him in every one of my high stakes leagues last year.
Where do you have him on your board?
I've got him in the 8th round, actually the top of the 8th round.
Okay.
But again, remember in lineup leagues, you're not going to have all of these quarterbacks picked by the 8th round.
Yeah, and I think he's better in best ball too, because you don't have to worry about Kyron at all. Like you could just insert him in, and if the week comes where he eventually takes over as the primary guy, then you're not gonna be like, oh, I had him on the bench, Right. All right, you're gonna be up in 1 pick. The best players available according to ADP: Quentin Johnston, Chris Godwin, Tucker Kraft, Courtland Sutton, Sam Laporta, Chuba Hubbard, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, Stafford, Jonathan Brooks, Josh Downs. Godwin just went. Gainwell, Mahomes, Purdy, Addison, Fannin, Monangai, Dart. Who do you like here?
Let's go. Let's go Tucker Kraft. I like Tucker Kraft a lot. I know he had the torn ACL. He's going to be healthy for week 1. best ball, you don't have to worry that they spread the ball around a lot.
Hmm.
Um, I he's not in that top tier of tight ends. He's not one of those guys who I'd expect to score 16 points per game, but I think he's a really safe bet to be a top 6 overall tight end. So I know you hate the tight ends, but I really like those top few. And after him, I think Laporta belongs in the conversation. Kyle Pitts is dicey. He's got Kevin Stefanski there, but who knows what's going on with their quarterback situation.
Yeah.
And Harold Fanning. And after that, I have a big drop off after that.
I like Goddard a lot. I like
Yeah.
Chiggy Okonkwo as well. Those are two guys I like. And like Goddard, I've been getting around 11, and Okonkwo, I've been getting like round 13. I think they have huge upside this year. Especially with like the Redskins didn't draft or sign it. Well, they drafted Antonio Williams, but they didn't sign anyone. And then with Goddard, AJ Brown's gone, so we know that Hurts is like read one, read two, run. So Goddard is read two now with AJ Brown gone. And anytime AJ Brown has or Devontae Smith have been out, Goddard has had some huge games. Like I point to week 2 game against the Saints in 2024. He had like, I forget what exact stats was, like 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like this guy, like talk about like getting 16 points. So, it's like that is massive. Like that's what he's capable of. And I think he has one more year as the starter there, and he's playing for a contract too. So, so I'm a big fan of him. Does Tucker Kraft, is the injury scary at all? I mean, you said he's going to play week 1, so obviously not. But like, do you have like any concerns about that, or are you just like 100% in on him?
Not really. I mean, it was the middle of the season last year that he tore his ACL. So it's not like he tore it in December or somewhere around there. He actually torpedoed one of my high stakes teams when he tore his ACL. I think I picked up Luke Musgrave, and you should never handcuff tight ends. But I thought, but I thought, Musgrave was really athletic. He was in the draft. He was a second round pick. He actually got drafted the same year as Tucker Kraft, ahead of Tucker Kraft, but he had one catch, I think, for the entire, not per game, I think for the rest of the season. So I'm not too concerned with Kraft. I think he'll be healthy. It's such a good passing offense, such a good offense. I don't know. I like him in the 8th round a lot.
Okay. I don't mind starting to look at tight ends in round 8. It's kind of like a little bit earlier than that. There was a big gap between Warren and Kraft. Like there wasn't a tight end taken after Warren until we took Kraft. So I think after that gap is filled, then you're looking around 8. There's I like Harold Fannin a lot in round 9. Like there was concern with him with injuries, but he's good to go. He looks healthy now, and with David Njoku gone, you make a case for him to be in the top 5 of tight ends, I think. So he's there. He just went. So he's another one that I like in this range too, who can definitely get to 16. How many times did he get to 16 last year? He had a 13, a 15, 18, a 28, and then a 19, and a couple of 11, 12, 12. And that was a Njoku there. Like, he's although I think Njoku was hurt at the end of the year, but still, like the beginning of the year, like he had Njoku to fight with, and he was a rookie. So I like him a lot here.
I like him a lot too. I think he's a little bit riskier than Kraft, only because Kevin Stefanski's not there, and we just see Stefanski use the tight ends everywhere he goes. That's why it'll be interesting to see what happens with Kyle Pitts this year.
Yeah.
But I have Fannin in that group as well. I actually don't have George Kittle anywhere close to that group. So for me, the tight ends that have been picked are the tight ends that I want, except for George Kittle.
Okay, I have Jordan Love starred because we had Tucker Kraft.
I like that.
Okay. I like their quarterbacks I like better, but for stacking purposes, Tyler Shuck went. I like Shuck around 10. Stacking Love with Kraft. You have to stack in best ball.
Yeah.
All the winning teams, they always stack. Like it just makes the most sense. All right, you're going to be up in one pick. According to ADP, the best players available are Gainwell, Goff, Pearsall. Ignore that.
Yeah.
Dobbins, Nix, Worthy, Kincaid, Golden, Mason, Likely, Kelsey, Dobbs, Mayfield, Goddard, Krosky, Merritt, Shakir, Concepcion, Aaron Jones, Jalen Coker, Ferguson, Mark Andrews, Willis, who just went. Gadsden went. That's early for him. Who do you like here?
Yeah, so I actually have Xavier Worthy in the 7th round.
Oh, wow.
I know he had a really terrible year last year. He hurt his shoulder almost instantaneously, right? I think it was the
It was like
first
the first
drive
drive.
of the
It's the first
season.
drive. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
And, he's back. He's healthy. There have been good reports, saying that he's looked a lot better, which, again, we have to take that with a grain of salt. We're a couple days into camp.
Okay.
But it's kind of along the same lines as Ricky Pearsall before Ricky Pearsall had the news about his knee swelling.
Mm-hmm.
Pearsall and Worthy were both going in the 5th and 6th round last year, and they both got hurt. And now Pearsall's probably not going to play this year, but Worthy's looked at as a 10th round target. Mahomes looks like he's playing week 1. I know Rashee Rice will probably be there, and Rashee Rice will be the number 1 guy, but Kelsey's, 36, I think, at this point. I think that it's Rice, Worthy, and what's left of Kelsey in that passing game. So, and Eric Bieniemy's back, so that should give them a boost too, because Matt Nagy might have been a little bit of the issue with what was going on with that offense the last couple of years.
Yeah, and yet the Giants brought him in, right? Like,
yeah, yep.
It's like, what? Why would they do that? That's interesting. Okay, I have not considered Worthy at all. But you are right. I mean, he did suffer the shoulder injury. I was rewatching last season a lot of the games, and I did see that again against the Chargers, the first game in Brazil, first drive. It kind of derailed the whole game because they already didn't have Rashee Rice from the suspension, and they lost Worthy, and so they didn't have anyone to throw to, and that kind of ruined their game. Not to say they would have won, but that kind of torpedoed their chances against the Chargers. And really, for most of the year, Mahomes just really struggled going downfield. He kept throwing deep to Tyquan Thornton. That's their plan. So. If Worthy's healthy, yeah, sure. I mean, he could bounce back, definitely. That's a good call. I like I said, I didn't consider it, but now I feel like I probably should. Just even with just the haircut that you're getting from him compared to last year, round 5, round 6.
Yeah, he might have even been going in round 4 in some drafts last year.
Maybe.
I can't remember. I have to go back to one of my Walter Football FFPC drafts from last year.
Yeah, we have a guy took 3 quarterbacks. It's in the first 11 rounds. I did a draft yesterday, or no, 2 days ago. Some guy took quarterbacks in rounds 2, 5, and 8. I'm like, that's not how we build the team, man. It's if two guys in the first 8 rounds who are never going to be in your lineup. It's a rough scene,
I don't think I would ever draft a quarterback in round 2. I can't even imagine the type of season a quarterback would have to have for me to consider that.
It'd have to be Brady circa 2007, right?
And even then, after that happens, that one Peyton Manning year, it's not happening again the next year.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you just can't do that. So, all right, speaking of quarterbacks, we only have one, so I feel like we have to take one. Our quarterbacks by is week 11, so bad news, we can't take the Atlanta quarterbacks because they have week 11 bye. So
shucks. We could have stacked him with Jahan Dotson.
I know. The team's gonna be so bad. Malik Willis is the best one available, or the earliest one. There's also CJ Stroud. Do you have a preference there, or maybe Daniel Jones or Cam Ward?
I like those 2 less than the first 2.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take Willis.
Okay.
We get his mobility, and we could take maybe a Caleb Douglas late or something, or maybe a Dulcich or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of tight ends, I like late. I like Dulcich. Before the NFL draft, we're doing these best ball drafts, and I was getting Dulcich in like round 20. It's just like such great value. I'm like, I hope those teams are good otherwise.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, you're up in two. Let's bring up ADP. Pearsall's still there. Jalen Coker, Tyron Tracy, Jaden Higgins, Stephon Diggs, Chiggy Bang Bang, Chris Rodriguez, Keaton Mitchell, Woody Marks, Cam Ward, Jalen McMillan, Daniel Jones, C.J. Stroud, Pacheco, Strange, Naylor, Juwan Johnson, Kamara, Charbonnet. You're up. Parkinson just went. That's way early for him too.
Yeah. So I have Jaden Higgins in the 8th round. CJ Stroud came out and said he expects him to be dominant. That was the word he used.
Yeah, I
Dominant.
saw that. Yeah.
I've got a good buddy who's a beat writer, Cody Stutes, best beat writer for the Houston Texans, and he was talking about Higgins, and I guess Jalen Noel was really really good in OTAs. They called him the best. I saw a panel of 3 Texans beat writers that called Jalen Noel the best wide receiver in OTAs. But one, Nico Collins was sidelined during OTAs, but also Jalen Noel is the type of receiver you would expect to look good when nobody has pads on.
Right.
So I like Noel as well. I'd really like to get CJ Stroud here as our 3rd quarterback.
No, he went at 12 before. Yeah. I wish we'd have known that Higgins was there, because then I would have taken Stroud. But that's okay. We can still stack with Willis.
Yeah. So that Texans passing game is interesting to me, because I think there will be a second receiver that's going to be fantasy relevant this year. My money's on Higgins. I don't know if that's just bias because I liked him when he was in the NFL draft, but he had some good games last year, and he looked like he got better as the season went on. But that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch earlier in the season. And I think one of those 3 receivers, with Tank Dell being the other one, and maybe the least likely of being the one that hits, but that could be a potential league-winning pick when you get here in the 11th, 12th round.
Oh, you think Tank Dell's the least likely? Obviously the injuries, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember, again, I know I keep talking about the NFL draft, but when he was in the NFL draft, everyone was talking about him being a top 100 pick, and I had a hard time with that, only because he was 162 pounds. Right. I get it. Like, there are a lot of small receivers, but 162 pounds was never a small receiver. 180 pounds was a small receiver until the last few years. And it's just, I know we have different rules, and everybody wants to protect the wide receivers. They don't have Ronnie Lott to worry about, coming over the middle and lighting them up. But these small receivers still always get hurt, and then they're never the same. Look at Hunter Renfrow. You could go through any one of these 170, 160 pound receivers from the last 5 years, and you can't go beyond that, because you wouldn't get drafted unless you're like Dree Archer, if you want to call him a receiver. I guess that he's more of a running back, or like Dexter McCluster. These guys never work out because they're too small. And this is a lot that Tank Dell has to come back from. So I guess we'll see, but it makes me nervous.
I've been taking him a lot in like the 16th round. I feel like there's like a basket of players there who could just really have some big games. Kind of like Adonai Mitchell, like another one. He can take the top off the ball. Like Tank Dell, we saw when he was on the field, like, he was awesome, but the injury part is very scary. Pearsall just went off the board. So
great pick.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like auto draft or something. You have to be careful when injuries happen, and then you pop into a draft and maybe you fall asleep and you get auto drafted an injured player. That's happened to me. So that's called paying the rake here. If this guy doesn't take Deebo, I'm gonna take Deebo. Or Tank Dell just went. I'm gonna take Deebo. Any qualms with that?
I was going to take Deebo with the next
Okay.
pick. I mean,
Okay.
we probably should have already. You could make the argument at this point. I'm really high on Higgins, but you could make the argument with Deebo over Higgins. I think
Yeah.
that's just phenomenal value. He's probably. I mean, if you had to bet on which of these three 49ers receivers in the 13th round was going to have the best year statistically, Deebo Samuel's probably the favorite.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Pearsall is definitely the worst.
Oh, yeah. I mean, by the play. Yeah.
Yeah, Stribling's the wild card. I mean, I expect Evans to miss time because he always misses time, and when he does,
Yeah.
I think Stribling comes in. But yeah, Deebo right now has a role for sure. I mean, he's going to have Pearsall's role. All right, you're going to be up in 2 picks. Let's go to the board. The 1 pick: Jalen McMillan, Naylor, Kamara, Bryce Young, Jawan Jennings, Spears, Hunter, Algier, Trey Tucker, Malik Washington, Brissett, Sadiq, Flournoy, Hawkinson, Boston, Tesla, Sampson, Bigsby, Schultz, Dulcich, Antonio Williams, Mendoza, Adonai Mitchell, and now you're up. Flournoy went. So who do you like?
Yeah. So I've got Tyler Algier in my 10th round. He's going to be involved. I think, he might hit the lineup a little bit more earlier in the year than later in the year. I think it's a lot of coach speak going on right now with Jeremiah Love. People are worried that he's not going to be involved at all. He's going to be involved. He's the 3rd pick in the draft. But Algier has been taking most of the reps with the ones. I think what you see, and we've talked about this a lot, so I don't want to hammer this home or draw this out, but
yeah.
Rookie running backs coming into the league now that we have 17 games, they don't play that many games in college. So when you use a 1st round pick on one of these running backs, you don't want to drive them into the ground in year 1 of their rookie contract because you're invested in them. The Cardinals are certainly invested long-term in Jeremiah Love. And I think they probably internally know they're not winning the Super Bowl this year. So it makes sense, I think, to play Algier quite a bit. In the 10th round, I really like that. And again, I think, though, that might be one that, he hits the lineup earlier in the year rather than later in the year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But, I feel like he's just always going to get the goal line carries no matter what. That happened with Bijan. He got the goal line carries over Bijan. And so why wouldn't that happen with Jeremiah Love? He was the first running back to get the touches in training camp. Now that could change eventually, but I think he got as many carries as Bijan in Bijan's first game, I think, in Atlanta. Or maybe it was very close anyway, but I expect that to continue to happen. Jeremiah Love, like you said it perfectly. He's the long-term plan. He's not like this year. Arizona, you said Arizona, they know they're not going to make this. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. Like, I feel like they don't know if they're going to win 3 games. Like that team is. It's. I don't think they're as bad as people think, but their schedule is so difficult. Like, obviously, they play the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams twice each. They're the only team that does that. But like their other games, like even though they have a fourth place schedule, their other games are still tough. So yeah, I'm worried about Jeremiah Love. Where'd he go in this draft? He went 312. Actually, it's later than he's been going. Like he's been going like mid 3rd. So that's a little bit of a surprise, but I still wouldn't draft him there. I think I have him. I want to say like 43rd in my overall rankings. Where do you have Love in your on your board?
I've got him. I actually would not mind taking him at the very end of the 2nd round. I wouldn't take him there probably because he's not going there right now. He is going, late 3rd, 4th. But again, remember my chart is redraft lineup, not best ball.
Right.
So I know the 3rd round is still, that's an area where you want your 3rd round pick to contribute right away. I just think he's better than a lot of these other running backs we've seen in recent years who are going at the end of the 1st round. We saw Najee Harris going at the end of the 1st round as a rookie. Yeah. Gentry was going at the end of the 1st round. That is too high for me, but once you get into the 3rd round for some of these elite, talents, especially at running back.
Mm-hmm.
It's enticing to me.
Okay. Well, hold on now. I'm gonna continue this. We're gonna go with Greg Dulcich to stack with
Okay.
with our quarterback Malik Willis. So we're only have two quarterbacks unless we take some rando late. I had my eye on Mendoza maybe, kind of warming up to him after I heard that the guy who won the best ball last year had Tyler Shuck on his bench. He drafted Brock Purdy, but Shuck was on his bench, and Shuck was like instrumental in him like winning. Although Brock Purdy was still his quarterback. Oh, you're up in one pick. I'll continue this in a second. Trey Tucker, Dylan Sampson, Adonai Mitchell, Brian Robinson, Trey Harris, Jaden Blue, Gunnar Helm, Jerry Judy, AJ Barner, Kate Otten, Dontavian Wicks, Ray Davis, Zachariah Branch, Calvin Ridley, Sean Tucker, who went, AJ Barner went. Tua, Butte, who do you like here?
Yeah, I like Trey Harris. It could be McConkey and Quentin Johnston, but Trey Harris is enticing as well. And Quentin Johnston, his ADP has risen so high at this
Round
point.
7, yeah.
I just think that Trey Harris is maybe there's only going to be one right answer between the two of them, most likely. But he's the safer bet when you're getting him here in the 16th round. And in best ball, where you don't have to worry about whether or not you have him in the lineup, he's going to have some big games, even if he isn't the number 2 receiver there. Mm-hmm. But I really like some of the upside that we've grabbed in the second half of this draft.
Yeah. I like that too. I've been drafting Harris whenever I draft Herbert, just as the stack. I don't think I've taken him outside of Herbert, but it's usually like it's kind of like a carousel of players. Like I said, like he's one of those guys in round 16 in the basket here that I like. Trey Tucker's another one. Like he had a couple of huge games last year. He had a 43-point game, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Against Washington, yeah.
Yeah. So like we saw what he was capable of, and now he's, I think the receiver one there. I think Naylor's just going to be a slot guy. Talked about how I have Tank Dell here. Tesla would qualify, although he went 15th rounds. There are a couple of others. Adonai Mitchell, I mentioned Zachariah Branch. I think he has some upside. And then Keyshawn Butte's kind of like slid up here because of his good start to training camp. I don't know how much you read into that with Butte. He's supposedly the best looking player overall in Patriots training camp. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard me say a bunch of times that I ignore minicamp news. I think the news starts to matter in training camp. However, I think the first couple days of training camp, you're still dealing with people are just starved for any type of news, and they kind of make news where there isn't news. And so you're hearing AJ Brown doesn't look like he has a connection with Drake May right now. I'm not even slightly concerned with that. I think AJ Brown's going to have a ton of targets this year. He's going to be the guy. And Drake May can support 2 wide receivers, or 2 top 24 wide receivers, in my opinion. But, Keyshawn Boutte, would it even be him, or would it be Romeo Doubs? I know Boutte's been good. I know he was a huge prospect before his draft year. Mm-hmm. And he took a step forward last year. We've drafted him quite a bit.
Yeah.
In like the 18th, 19th, 20th round this offseason. But I'm kind of taking it with a grain of salt. It's kind of like the Jacoby Lane news. I don't know if you've heard, but Jacoby Lane is supposedly tearing up Ravens camp. And he's interesting because his biggest strength is he's really good in the red zone, so he could score some touchdowns. But how much value is he really going to have there when Zay Flowers gets a bunch of targets?
Actually, I was going to bring up Jacoby Lane to you later on, not because of training camp, but because we have one of our sources. Kenny brought this up on Tuesday, but one of our sources, like Kenny asked him, he's like, who do you think is going to be like the sleeper receiver? Or like, is there like a Puka Nacua, like a mid-round receiver who goes off? And the guy was like Jacoby Lane. So I've been taking him in the 19th round a lot. So,
but that's where I think he belongs, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he's gonna score a lot of touchdowns most likely,
Yeah.
but the chances of him having 1,000 yards receiving or like 70 receptions or something like that are probably pretty low.
Yeah, that's fair.
You
I
don't, you
took
don't need that in the 19th round either, though.
Yeah, no, that you're right. I took our third tight end, Pat Fryermuth. So you're able to draft any position you want. You're up in 3 picks. So top players available: Tua, Cooper Cup, Mooney, Singleton, Keon Coleman, Njoku, Bateman, Katron Allen, Mike Washington, Gesicki, Halani. Katron Allen just went. Shedeur Sanders, Thornton, Cousins, Jordan James, Hurst. Tyreek Hill, Kalen Black, Claiborne, Fields, Connor, Tungus, Watson, Pat Bryant, Stowers. I'm going to keep going until we're on the clock. Watkins, Surratt, Torrey Horton, Keenan Allen, Ayuk, Ty Johnson, Nick Chubb, Michael Penix Jr., Trevor Etienne, Kareem Hunt, Singleton just went. Okay, so who do you like?
I really like Juju Smith-Schuster. No, I'm just kidding. I think Mike Washington is really undervalued. He's the clear handcuff to Genty. Sure, he's going to need Genty to be injured a few games for him to hit our lineup, but they don't have anybody else behind Genty. I mean, Dylan Lobby is not a real running back.
Yeah.
He's kind of one of those change of pace, Jalen Richard types. And that's it. I mean, they have Chris Collier in camp. He probably won't even make the team. I had Mike Washington pretty much equal to and even slightly ahead of Jadarian Price.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something up with Washington. I don't know if it's a medical thing where teams were worried that he might not play for a long time. I don't really know what it is, but he shouldn't have fallen to the 4th round. And he's healthy right now. He's in camp, and he's already the clear number 2 in training camp. Usually you see the first couple of days teams play games and they're like, oh yeah, the second running back is this veteran street free agent who has come to camp with us the last 3 years, and that rookie's behind him. But Washington's already the clear handcuff, and if Genty gets hurt, he's going to score fantasy points because, as we know, running back fantasy scoring is just based off of opportunity.
Right. Yeah, I mean he's certainly explosive. If he has his big upside. I don't know if he has like the vision, could it be like a Tevin Coleman? That kind of worries me. But I mean, he definitely has the athletic upside, and I do think that he would be the handcuff for sure. I got to take 5 receivers in a row there. It's interesting. We were talking about a couple of things, and then we kind of got sidetracked. It's kind of. I think one of them was Mendoza. I was mentioning how, and I brought up the comment that Hames posted. Shuck was the only alive quarterback for that guy who won the best ball last year. And it's kind of like an argument for 3 quarterbacks. I think that the number of quarterbacks you have kind of should be dictated by how safe your other 2 are. If like you draft a Justin Herbert and a Jared Goff, like those guys are super safe. Herbert's missed like 4 games in his career, and Goff hasn't missed the game since 21. So if you could draft those 2 guys, I don't think you need a third. But if you draft like we drafted Malik Willis, I feel like we probably should have a third quarterback, but it just didn't work out. But Mendoza, my point is that like he kind of strikes me as like the Shuck of this year's draft. I can't really find another one here. Like a quarterback who's being drafted late, despite the fact that he's probably going to be a starter. And then at some point, I would think, like, yeah, I know they've said they don't want him to start, but I think he will eventually. And then he has like Shuck, he has mobility. He has obviously just great talent. His team around him is not great, the receivers and everything, but he does have Bowers. He still does have Genty. The offensive line's better than it was last year. I think 15th round, I've drafted him a couple times in round 15. Not really earlier than that, but as a guy who who could be this year's Tyler Shuck. I've taken him. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's going to play at some point this year. I guess we're going to find out, how serious Tom Brady is about this redshirt year. And
Right.
he strongly believes in the redshirt year for quarterbacks. If you look at the way John Spytek's built that team too, you can almost see that they know that they're bad for another year. It's almost like they know they need, Jeremiah Smith or Cam Coleman in next year's draft, along with the cap space they're going to get from Christian Wilkins and one more offseason, basically.
Right.
So, I don't know how much he'll play. I'm sure he's not going to go the whole entire season without playing, though. That would be odd. But I think you could see sort of like a rookie Drake May type situation where he got into games, but Jacoby Brissett started most of the year.
I brought up with that. I brought up the Mike Tyson quote. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, or mouth. Yeah. And so it could be that for the Raiders. Like they plan on starting Cousins. Oh, Cousins sucks. What do we do? So I think that could happen. You're going to be up in one pick. So final selection: David Njoku, Halani, Shador Sanders, Kirk Cousins, Jordan James, Tyreek Hill, Damon Claiborne, Malachi Fields, James Conner, Deshaun Watson, Pat Bryant, Jalen Watkins, Surratt, Torrey Horton, Brandon Ayuk, Nick Chubb, Michael Penix, Trevor Etienne, and we have some other players here. And so
Tanner McKee. Don't forget about Tanner McKee.
The Irish assassin. Yeah. So who are you taking here?
Do we need a running back or a receiver here?
Receiver.
We need a receiver. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to just click on the receivers real quick?
Okay. I have some.
Pat Bryant. Let's go Pat Bryant. Or Torrey Horton, whichever one you like better.
I already clicked Bryant, but yeah. Why do you like Bryant here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Unlike Higgins or Trey Harris, I don't think there's anything that's going to happen with Pat Bryant that's going to, give him league-winning potential. But he's someone who came on toward the end of last season. He was only a rookie. And if he builds on that, I know Jalen Waddle's there, but if he builds on that, he should be the clear number 3 receiver. And he should have a few big games. Kind of almost like what you might expect with Ryan Flournoy with the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So I think he's a guy who could hit the lineup a few weeks, and he's got some talent, although Bo Nix is not supporting 3 receivers in the top 24. Probably not supporting 2.
That's true. Marvin just went. So that's why I like these going receiver late. That's why I want to load up a running back, and you could just go receiver late because you have Pat Bryant. You're right. Like he's going to be. Maybe he's not great all year, but he's going to be in your lineup 2 or 3 times potentially with a couple of big games. Caleb Douglas took him to stack with our quarterback Malik Willis. He's a rookie. I think he's a big guy and is athletic, and I think that he could be someone in the second half of the year who does some good things. We took Trey Harris, Deebo's there, Jaden Higgins. But I talked about all these receivers you could take in these few rounds. I just think it makes more sense to do that than take the running backs. Like these running backs late. If you look at like round 19, the running backs, like you have like Isaiah Davis, you're going to need an injury. Like Emmanuel Wilson, you're going to need an injury. Kalen Black, you're going to need an injury. Nick Chubb, injury. Halani, you're going to need an injury. Like all these guys, you need to count on something happening. Whereas the receivers are going to produce no matter what. They're not going to be consistent. But in best ball, you don't need them to be consistent. You don't need to plug them into your lineup. They're just going to be there, and hopefully a couple times each year they're gonna be in your lineup as the highest scorer. So that's what I did last year. Like Alec Pierce, took him in the 16th round, like over and over again. Like he was one of my highest drafted players last year.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Good job with that. I was thinking about that all year. Every time Alec Pierce had a 70-yard touchdown, your thesis was he's going to have those 70-yard touchdowns. He always does. He had a lot of them last year.
Oh yeah. I was like, my thought was like, you need him to have 16 plus points 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And he definitely did. He had way more than that. So, that ended up working well. So yeah, that's my point. Is that's why, like, you know, you look at this draft, it took 4 running backs the first 5 rounds. That's how I like to do it. And really 5 in the first 7, and then we didn't draft a running back until much later, 14th and then 18th round, just because like we're pretty set there, and then we could take, like, we have our ace receiver here with Higgins, and then a good secondary guy with Odunze, and then we have a bunch of guys who could creep into our lineup as the third receiver or flex. And so I think that's the most ideal build here for this type of format. So how do you think we did with our team? So to recap, we took Hampton, Genty, Hall, and Judkins, our 4 running backs plus Corum. Our receivers Higgins, Odunze, Worthy, and then Higgins, Deebo Samuel, Harris, Caleb Douglas, Pat Bryant. Our quarterbacks are Malik Willis and Jordan Love. And then our tight ends are Dulcich, Frymuth, and then we took Kraft in round 8. How do you think we did with this team?
Yeah, I like this team a lot. I mean, I think if you were going to say that it has a weakness, it's, you know, the kryptonite could be Malik Willis gets hurt, and, you know, we've only got Jordan Love. You know, we've got to hit our lineup every week. But if those 2 quarterbacks stay healthy, I know it's kind of like a late round quarterback approach, but, you know, they're both potentially solid quarterbacks, and everything else on our team is pretty stacked, in my opinion. I like the 3 running back start. I think, you know, Hampton, that's right about where he should go, but you could also, I think, reverse the order of our first 2 picks, and it would look just as good. I mean, we got Genty in the second, Breece Hall going that late in the 3rd round is a good value. And then Judkins. I know Judkins is coming off of the injury, but, you know, that's a pretty big discount on him. So as long as the offensive line holds up, I know they have a lot of turnover there. That's a fantastic pick, you know, late in the 5th round. And then we took Corum because I think we've taken Corum on every draft we've ever done. And every year we've drafted Blake Corum. And again, Mike Washington, I think he's a little bit different than a lot of those later round quarterbacks, just because I think he has more upside than, you know, some of those other guys who, like Nick Chubb, doesn't have upside. No. Emmanuel Wilson might not make the team. Isaiah Davis doesn't have a lot of upside. So I like Washington there. I think he should go early. Like, he should be going ahead of Emmett Johnson, in my opinion. He should be going ahead of Braylon Allen or, you know, Justice Hill. I don't think there's a lot of upside with some of those types. But receiver, I really like what we did there too, because we waited a little while before we drafted our receiver 1. But we have a lot of upside. So this team could be really good if, you know, 2 of Odunze and Worthy and Higgins and Trey Harris and those types, you know, take a step forward this year. And Deebo. What a pick. I mean, Deebo's the pick of the draft right there. That's the market not adjusting to the news yet.
Yeah, I like doing these drafts when there's news and people are slow to adjust to it. Like, we were talking about Deebo round 9, round 10. Like, he went round 13. That's quite the discount. And we'll see where he goes. Maybe the market just won't be high on him, but I find that hard to believe. Given that, you know, it's not like he's joining a new team. He's trying to learn a new system. Like, he knows the system. He's been there forever. So I like that a lot. I couldn't believe he was there in round 13. I kind of like forgot about him, and then I saw as like one of our better players available. I'm like, oh, Deebo's still here. So yeah, that was a nice one. I like the Higgins pick a lot too. Worthy's interesting. That kind of opened my eyes. Have to definitely reconsider him. I like our tight ends. You know, we got one really good one in Kraft, and then a couple guys with upside at Fryermuth. You know, with no Jonnu Smith there, that's going to help. And then Dulcich. Like, there are no receivers. I know we drafted one, but like, there are really no proven receivers on that team. So he could get like 80 targets, or like 80 catches. I mean, this year, like, he had late in the year, he had a 5 reception game, and that was the team that had receivers. Like, this one does not. So, yeah. So I like Dulcich there. Yeah, I like this team overall. I think there's a lot of upside for sure. I do think you're right though. Quarterback is the main concern. Like, Jordan Love has missed some time. Malik Willis has the potential to miss some time because he's a runner. So that could that could really backfire not having a third quarterback. But overall, I think we did a good job. Like the only quarterback we could have taken really is Bryce Young, I suppose, or Mendoza, or I guess Geno Smith. I wouldn't want to take Brissett because we like late in the year. I'm pretty sure Carson Beck's going to play at some point. Like this Cardinals team's not going to win many games, so they're going to have to see what they have in Carson Beck. I don't know when he's going to play. Maybe like when the fantasy playoffs start. Maybe that's when he starts playing, and that could be that could be a disaster if you have Brissett and you're counting on him and he's out. So that's why I'm pretty hesitant to draft Brissett. As good as he was at some points last year, like he had some huge games. He set the all-time completion record against the Niners.
Yeah, he threw 175 passes in that game.
Yeah, he had 27 fantasy points in that game, and all of it was in garbage time. So that's pretty crazy. I don't know if we finished our conversation on Jeremiah Love. Maybe that's like one of the other ones we were talking about, but yeah, to me, I think that you kind of have to like wonder what's he going to do there. Like I mean, obviously they're going to use him first and second down in between the 20s. When they get to the goal line, it's going to be Algier. I think when they get to third down, it's going to be Connor because coaches are kind of reticent to trust rookies on third down. So like, what is he actually doing this year? It's like it's like the Office Space meme. Like those guys, they're like, what exactly do you do here? And the team's gonna be way behind. So like those carries, you're not gonna see a lot of them in many second halves. So
I think you could see his role grow as the year goes on, though. Yeah. And that's just where, in recent years, when you're looking in the third and fourth round at running back, as you're looking at a lot of the day two rookie running backs who kind of go in that range. And, last year, Travion Henderson was going early third round. And Jeremiah Love's better than Travion Henderson. It's a dicey role. You're absolutely right about the Cardinals schedule. And your argument makes complete sense. I could see you being right about that for sure. I like that value. I just like betting on the talent he has, especially in my lineup leagues. If I can get him late in the third, I would do that every time just because, like, look at the player. I mean, I guess Scatabo, he was good last year. He's coming off the injury. Jeremiah Love's just a better player than him. Early in the year, Scatabo is probably going to get a lot more carries. But, as we get down to the second half of the year, I could see Jeremiah Love really ascending and being a difference maker just because of his talent.
Yeah. I could see him getting a bigger role, but like at the same time, that could be when Carson Beck plays, and then that could just bog down the whole offense. That team's a mess. I just don't want anyone on that team. The team's gonna be horrible. Like that number one schedule is just so tough. Like, I just want to see just like kind of stress their schedule this year.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah.
I knew it was going to take me a second.
They're playing the Blue Jays week 1.
That's you can't score on them. So let's go. What are they going to get? Like 5 points? All right. First, so they play the Chargers, then the Seahawks, then the Niners. Giants easier. Then they have the Lions.
But the Giants defense is better than what it's been.
Yeah. Then they have the Rams, the Broncos, the Cowboys, improved defense, Seahawks, Rams, Chiefs, Redskins, Eagles, Jets, who have a better defense, Saints, Raiders, Niners. Now, Raiders week 17, that's nice. Yeah. But if Beck's there, it just may not matter. And I have learned to like not really read too much into the schedule because especially like week 17. Remember, someone pointed this out to me, but a couple years ago, I think it was 2023, the Browns and Jets had a game in Week 17. Like everyone avoided it, and that was a shootout. It was just random shootout. So you just never know what's going to happen. But like you can make a guess on it. And I mean, Raiders Week 17 does look good, but are you even going to get there with your players with the Cardinals? Like that's the question you have to ask. So speaking of questions asking. I saw Carson Beck was missing wide open, easy passes in practice. I was like, yep, I'm glad to confirm once again that he's not going to be good. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the clips of Marvin Harrison, who's dropped everything. Seems like he dropped everything, and he was practicing with the twos. Where do you have him on your board?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been good. I've got him in, let's see where I have him. I've got him in the 6th round right now,
Okay,
which
I
is
think
where
that's
he
where he went.
goes.
Yeah, I think that's where
Again,
he went.
it's the first couple days of training camp. And I know you can't completely dismiss the last couple years.
Yeah.
He's just, I mean, the talent that he's got, you have to admit he's got the talent to be a round 6 league winner. You know, if he can get his stuff together and take a step forward from last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. We haven't seen it except for that one game, week two. Remember his rookie year against the Rams? Like he just like looked like a monster, and everyone's like, I remember doing a live best ball draft for like round 3 onward that year, and like Harrison was going like 10th overall after that game. Yeah, he just never got back to that. It's pretty crazy. So I don't know where that's been. It's so weird that we had that like one blow up game and then just really nothing after that.
It almost kind of feels like a Chuck Knobloch thing. Like remember Chuck Knobloch gets traded to the Yankees and he can't all of a sudden can't throw the ball to first base.
Yeah, you got the yips.
After being a Gold Glover.
Yeah.
It seems like Marvin Harrison, like even like just looking at his body language sometimes on the sideline, seems like he's just in his own head. And you know, I don't know. We'll see if he can get past that. Or I mean, if he's with the twos though, that's not going to be good.
No, not at all. Do you have where do you have what Michael Wilson?
I've got Michael Wilson. Let's see. I've got him in the 9th right now. I mean, of course, if another few days of practice goes by and Marvin Harrison's not starting, I move Michael Wilson up. But that's you get into that 9th round range, I'm willing to take a chance on him. But I'm not completely buying all this coach speak about like, oh yeah, it reminds me of Puka Nacua. All right, I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit on Michael Wilson.
Yeah,
because he was really good last year, toward the end of the year. But Puka Nacua was doing that from week 1 of his rookie season.
That's true. Wilson was I don't know what to make of that year, that finish that he had. Like it was crazy. He had like it was week 11 onward. He had 36, 24, then he had 6, but then 40, 16, 13, 19, 20. Like what a finish. Like he was amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, does that continue? Is that a fluke? It's like if it was 3 games, you could say it's a fluke. Remember Drew Bennett had like 3 or 4 amazing games at the end of that one year a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I overvalued him. That was a mistake I learned in my early 20s. No, this is half the season almost. Like I don't know. I have no idea what to make of this at all.
I don't think anybody does. I think it's just a guess. And I think once you get into that 8th, 9th round range, if you could draft a player that has a chance to be a league winner, and I don't think he's getting 16 targets a game. That was just bonkers. Yeah. But, he doesn't have to get 16 targets a game. If he's as good as he was last year, that's a league winner in round 8 or 9. But we also can't completely dismiss that he could be on waivers by week 5. He could go back to being Michael Wilson before the end of last season. I fell for that with Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee had a season where his final 5 games of the season were all like 20-plus point games. Mm-hmm. And the next year, he was going in the 4th round of the tight end premium, like the FFPC leagues.
Yeah.
And I was all in, thinking, okay, 4th round pick, it's pretty high draft capital in the NFL draft, pretty high draft capital for a tight end. And he was athletic, and he has that great finish to the season. And he's had a nice career, but he's never approached that.
No, he had that mini run in the playoffs a couple years ago too. Yep. Remember against the Vikings and the Eagles, he had a couple of awesome games. and that kind of fooled me. So we were both fooled by him. I was fooled by him last year. Now I was taking him, I was taking him like 18th, 19th round. I was like, I even joked, this is the Higbee round. And Cassandra is one of our top commenters here. Cassandra's like, oh, taking Higbee again, huh? So I was like, it's 19th round. Like, what do I have to lose? Well, I lost a bit of upside because he really didn't do anything last year. Like, he's one of like 4 tight ends. It ended up being Parkinson more than anyone. Who, by the way, went super early in this draft. He went, where'd he go? He went 12th round. I'm usually getting him like around 17, 18. I don't know what's going on. He like this guy took Gadsden early too. He took Troy Franklin round 11. What is? I want to look this team real quick. So this guy took he took Pickens round 202. That was strange. At least you can defend that because he was not going to get him back at 311. So I'm like, okay. And then Scatabo, Loveland, Park Washington, Michael Pittman Jr. 602 seems a little early. Yeah,
you can't take Michael Pittman over some of that talent at wide receiver that's left because Michael Pittman's not winning you the league in the 6th round.
No,
one of those other receivers there might.
Right. Yeah. That's I don't like that pick. They took Prescott, which is fine. He actually paired him with Pickens there, so that's good. They took Chris Godwin 802. Not a fan of that. I don't like hate it, but not a fan. Then Tyler Shuck 911, which he could have taken him 1002. I would have thought, but then this guy doubled up a quarterback. But anyway, and he took Gadsden, and this is where he started reaching. Gadsden, Franklin, Parkinson, all reaches. Jonah Coleman I actually do like. And he took his third tight end there with Barner, Flournoy, Emmett Johnson. We talked about him a little bit. Malachi Fields, I actually like this Malachi Fields in the 20th round, even though Neighbors is running more. I think there's a decent chance Neighbors, and I don't want to wish injury, but like he could easily get hurt, just overcompensating for like his other leg. And then Fields could just come in and be good. I've drafted Fields a lot in 20th round. Wilson talked about maybe not making team. Singleton, not a huge fan of him. So yeah, this team doesn't look good. Some good picks for sure, but yeah, you reached a lot there.
You've got 4 running backs on that roster that might be inactive on week 1. I'm serious, right? I mean, Jonah Coleman's probably not active week 1. They're going to play Dobbins, and then RJ Harvey's their change of pace guy.
Yeah,
they'll probably play the third running back that's active on game days. Usually someone who plays special teams.
Right.
Singleton, same thing. I mean, the top 2 guys right there are Pollard and Spears, at least for right now. Emmanuel Wilson is clearly 3rd right now for the Seahawks in that pecking order.
Yep.
And Emmett Johnson, same thing. Emmett Johnson could emerge as the handcuff, but right now it's DeMarcado.
DeMarcado.
I know.
I can't. I wrote. I finished my. I don't know if I told you. I finished my book. Year of the Bad Beat.
Okay. You told me you were writing it. I didn't know you finished it.
I'm currently editing right now, so it's technically not finished. In the editing process, I'm currently editing the Cardinals Titans chapter, which was that game. That game. So my book is right now 52,600 words. That game itself took up 5,000 words.
That was a crazy game.
That was a lot of people. Well, yeah, a lot of people don't remember everything that happened in that game too. People remember the DeMarcado drop. I think people remember the interception that was kicked into the end zone. And by the way, 3 Arizona players had a chance to hop on it. Like, I even have a picture in this book. There are 3 Cardinals players, no one else around the ball, and that ball's like skitters into the end zone somehow. And Tyler Lockett's there to pick it up. Lockett was cut 15 days later. What people don't remember is a little bit earlier in that game, there was the Cardinals were in the end zone, in the red zone, and Murray's in shotgun, and the center snaps the ball prematurely, and the ball hits Murray in the helmet, and the ball like trickles down, and Murray's just standing there thinking like a whistle's gonna be called because like false start or something.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that it's a live ball, so he dives on the ball, and then he limps off the field. And this is the last game he played all year because he had that foot sprain. That was the play where he got hurt. And from that point onward in the game, like he barely moved. Like he was just handing the ball off most of the time. And like the rare occasions where he's throwing, he's just chucking the ball on the ground. So that was like part of it too. So that was like an all timer. I don't know how. I don't know how you top that. That was crazy. And like 2 weeks before that was the Jordan Davis block field goal return for a touchdown. Like
Yep.
I thought that was the worst. In fact, like Scott Van Pelt was on the Rich Eisen show, and he's like, "That's the bad beat of the year." Like little did he know, 2 weeks later, there's gonna be something worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that knocked a lot of people out of Survivor too. That was another big thing. Like that was, I think like a third of the field got knocked out in Circus Survivor from the Cardinals because they were 7.5-point favorites over the Titans. So and that if DeMarcado didn't drop the ball, they would have been up 28-6, 12 minutes left. So
Yeah,
I've rewatched the game a few times. Couldn't tell. We did have some other. Oh no, but to go back to this guy, yeah, he might have two active running backs, Achane and Scatabo.
Yeah.
Two pretty good ones, but those might be his only active running backs early in the season. So don't draft this way, please. If you're thinking like, oh, I might draft like this guy, like some regional tight ends, like don't do it. Wait, hold on.
Kobe Parkinson in the 12th round.
Yeah,
no upside.
You know what? I made a mistake. I said Barner was his third tight end. This is fourth tight end. He's the one who took Loveland. He sniped your pick with Loveland.
Yeah.
And then he reached on tight ends. Like if you take Loveland, you have the luxury of waiting on tight ends. You could, I would still say get 3 tight ends because with injury and whatnot. But like
right
with Loveland here, you can wait. You can this Barner pick is good. He could have also taken Schultz here. He could have taken like Schultz and Barner here to pair with Loveland, and that would have made so much more sense. And he could have used these picks on running backs, like active guys. He could have taken Chris Rodriguez or Woody Marks or Charbonnet or Jonah Coleman. Well, he took Joe Coleman or like Pacheco if he wanted Pacheco. Like he could have taken these guys. With the Gatson pick, he could have taken Aaron Jones or Krosky Merritt. And these guys aren't like super excited. Jordan Mason, I think that's the big one he could have taken. So yeah, I mean that's just a bad use of resources. If you use a pick early in that's actually a good lesson. Like if you use an early pick on a one shot position, like definitely wait. Like there's no reason to double dip. Like this guy took Josh Allen. Like he actually did this correct. He didn't take a quarterback until later. But I've seen it before. That draft I did yesterday, the guy took Josh Allen in the second. Then he took I think he took Joe Burrow in the 5th, and then he took Jared Goff in the 8th. And that's like, don't even if you're stacking, like don't do that. That's just bad use of resources. Just that's a huge mistake. You can't do it.
I completely agree.
Some other comments. Did a mock recently. My top 5 picks were Bijan, Chase Brown, AJ. Wow, that's awesome. Ibuka, and then Judkins. Feels like that top guy could win leagues. Wald curious though. Would you go Tootin over Judkins? I would. I think there's less. The floor is lower with Tootin because we don't know 100% how that backfield is going to go. But I think the upside is massive. Like if Tootin's the guy, like we've seen what Liam Cohen can do, and I do like Judkins a lot, but I think Tootin is his upside's there, and I think with that start with Bijan, Chase Brown, AJ Brown, Ibuka, like you have a super high floor and high upside. Like you can afford to take Tootin over Judkins. So what do you think about this question?
Yeah, and I mean Chris Rodriguez now is injured, and he says he hopes to be back for week 1.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Rodriguez is also still Chris Rodriguez.
It's
so
true.
We've talked about how the team targeted Tootin in the 4th round as a priority last year. He got picked right around where Scatabo got picked, either right before or right after. And I think the 2 big differentiating factors between Tootin and Judkins for me are, one, the offensive line is a big question mark for the Browns. And then the second thing is, assuming PPR or at least half-point PPR, Tootin's going to get a lot more targets than Judkins.
Yeah.
So I take Tootin over Judkins. I've actually got, let's see, where do I have them? I've got them in the same round. Got them both in the 5th round, but I've got Tootin ahead of Judkins in the 5th round.
Okay. Glad to hear that we're on the same page there. I think Ramondre could be fair value 6th round. Vrabel once again praising him, whilst Travion got a small compliment. I feel like Stevenson's going. No, he went 6th round here. I've seen him go 7th round. In fact, I saw one draft where I got him in the 8th round. And actually, it was my deal. I take either Corum or Monangai in the 8th round. I was doing a draft, and Stevenson was actually there. I'm like, wow, I can't pass on this, So I took Stevenson instead. Yeah, no, I think he's going too late. He's going earlier. I mean, he's going later than Travion Henderson. I think that's a huge mistake. So you agree? Where do you have Stevenson on your board? And also, where do you have Henderson?
So I've got Stevenson in the 7th round because it sounds like he's going to have a role early in the season. And, the comment he was referring to, that Drew was referring to there, was, Vrabel came out again and praised Stevenson's pass pro ability while saying that's something that Travion continues to work on. This is another one of those situations, though, where, and I've got Henderson in the 5th round. So I've got him below Judkins, but I've got him in the 5th round with Tootin and Judkins as well. I think this is sort of along the same lines as the Jeremiah Love deal, where I think before we get to the second half of the year, talent is going to win out, and I think Travion Henderson's a lot more talented than Ramondre Stevenson. So I know here in the beginning of camp, it's discouraging to hear that Henderson's still working on his pass pro, but that was one of his strengths at Ohio State. Now, is Vrabel just pissed off that Henderson tweeted out something about not cheating on your spouse or something back in the offseason? Like, what's going on here? Because I think that as the year develops, even if it's not week 1, Henderson's going to end up playing more than Stevenson. But it could be one of those deals where we drafted Algier. Same deal here. Yeah. Stevenson, I could see being a good pick, but he's going to hit your lineup more potentially early in the season rather than late.
Yeah, did he hit on Diana Rossini? It's like, oh, this woman's hot. Let me ask you on a date. And Bray was like, oh, how dare you? It's my girl. That's actually what happened.
Well, did you see the tweet? He did tweet something about not.
Oh, did he? Did he really?
Right after that whole thing happened, he was.
Oh wow!
I thought you were it or something like that. I don't.
I thought you were joking. Okay, that's the real thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, now Vrabel's standing at the podium with his puppy. He's like, no, you still can't pass block.
I did not know that. Okay, yeah, no, that's I'm not touching Henderson, not at all now. I wasn't drafting him before. I'm definitely not drafting him now. That's really interesting. In the camp, I believe Michael Wilson's truly elite. I don't think his breakout was by accident. You could be right, Drew. It could be something to that. I think I don't think you should go. Well, I mean, if you had this conviction, then sure, yeah, I mean, draft him often. For me, I'm drafting him a little bit here and there. I think that's okay to have some exposure to him. I have no exposure to Harrison at all. I have 0% Harrison. I think I probably have 4% Wilson, which, it's still under. I mean, if you're drafting with 12 people, it's what 8.3% is the break even point. So I'm under the field, I guess you could say, but I still have some. I don't have any Harrison at all. So that's how I feel about him. So, if McBride's due for regression, that helps Wilson. Yeah, for the touchdowns, sure. I'd be shocked if McBride reaches his touchdowns again, especially if Carson Beck plays late in the year. You can kiss those touchdowns goodbye once he comes in.
One pushback I'm going to give on what Drew's saying there, and Drew's making a ton of really, really intelligent remarks, and he could be right about Wilson, but I think that whole Arizona offense, they're going to have way fewer passing attempts than they had last year. You're not going to have 50, 60 passing attempts per game like they had it seemed like every game down the stretch last year with Jacoby Brissett. And just because that was just such a weird, fluky thing. So I think you could see McBride regress, but Wilson also regresses.
Yeah, what happened was their defense is actually not bad the first half of the year. They had some good players, but what happened was almost every single one of their defensive players got hurt, and so their defense sunk to 32nd. They're dead last in the second half of the year, and so when now they're getting the players back, Walter Nolan's going to play. He was really good in the few games that he played. The Josh Sweat. They have some decent players on defense, and that's why I keep saying that. I don't think Arizona is as bad as people think they are. They have their left side of their offensive line is really good. They have some playmakers. Brissett's not a bad quarterback, and then they have like I said, they have some decent players there on defense, and so like yeah, I don't expect them to be 30 seconds unless they suffer a lot of injuries again. Now if they do, then yeah, you might see all those pass attempts again. But if those guys stay healthy, maybe they'll have like the 20th defense or 22nd, and if that's the case, then you're not going to see all those pass attempts. You're not going to see them just throwing a million times because they're down 28-0 over and over again. So yeah, so yeah, I do think that this whole offense is in regression. I actually tweeted out, I'm like, it was when Nathaniel Hackett was talking. I was like, I've never been happier to not have many Cardinals on my teams because he was talking about, I forget what he was talking about. He's talking about like nonsense. I know that he's not going to call the plays, but like he's still there. It's just like don't want anything to do with it, you know. From what I see, okay, you did good in practice today. Okay, don't tell first round mock. Yeah, for sure. I always do full PPR. Yeah, I mean, I always do DraftKings instead of I don't do Underdog. I do DraftKings. So this is the format I like. I just like having everything on DraftKings. You know. All right, so. It's been 3 weeks since we've spoken. Have you watched anything interesting on TV? We'll talk about that a little bit, unless you have to go.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, what did we watch? Something that was actually pretty good. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. How about why don't you start and I can see if I could remember. I feel like we watched a whole show and it was like a whole season of a show that was pretty good. Can't remember
Okay.
though.
I mean, being in Vegas, I didn't watch anything last week, but I have been watching House of the Dragon. You know, actually, one of my friends wants to come on and do a show about it. And I'd be like, let's do a little bit later in the season. You know, I think they only have 2 episodes left, if I'm not mistaken. Have you seen that, or have you seen? Did you watch Game of Thrones? I forgot. I think I asked you this before.
Yeah, I mean, I watched every episode of Game of Thrones, but that came out like before I had kids and everything. And I have this really bad habit. Anything that's like fantasy themed, like Lord of the Rings. Like I tried to watch the Lord of the Rings movies. I showed them to my daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, sit down. I'm into it. Like 3 minutes in, I'm like, and then I'm like, whoa, I haven't been paying attention for the last 40 minutes. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know who any of these people are. And then you can't remember any of their names because they all have funny names.
I know.
So I did watch Game of Thrones. I don't know. I thought it was okay, except for the ending. I'm not the best person to ask about shows like that, though. I like lose attention.
I fell asleep during Lord of the Rings in the movie theater, so I definitely agree with you there. I love Game of Thrones until season 7, and we it just torpedoed there. But so you haven't seen House of the Dragon then?
No.
Okay, it is. It's the prequel. I think it's 170 years before Game of Thrones, and it has to do with the civil war between the Targaryen house, where what basically happens is the king who has an illness. He knows he's going to die. He has to name a successor. And he has a daughter. He has no sons at the time, so he has a daughter, but he also has a brother. And so he has to make a choice between the brother and the daughter. And the brother is kind of like, he's very well liked, but he's very impulsive too. And he knows the king knows he's gonna be he would be a terrible king. Whereas his daughter, she's more disciplined, and he believes that she would be a good ruler for Westeros. So he has to make this decision. He decides on the daughter. But then what happens is his wife passes away, he remarries, and then he has several sons. So then, what happens is he talks about he's thinking about renaming the heir, but he doesn't want to screw up his daughter, so he still says she's the heir, but a lot of people don't want a woman on the throne, and so they want one of his 2 sons, his 2 first sons, to be king. And then what happens is, well, I don't want to spoil it, but someone makes a decision for him as in his dying days, that person thinks he says something, that he wants his firstborn son to be king, which is really his 4th or 5th child, and so then that sparks a civil war between these just like the his daughter and her nephew, or no, her brother, I guess. Yeah, her brother, half brother. So it's they really they fight for the throne, and then someone else comes in and like he's like, oh, this guy really belongs on the throne. So it's really interesting. I think they're in season 3. Season 2 was like it's a little. I had a few problems with season 2, but season 3 has been really good. I thought it's like a nice bounce back to what it was. Season 1 was awesome. If you like Game of Thrones at all, I think you would like season 1 a lot. The first episode's a little slow, and you're like, oh, it's kind of you're learning so many new characters, but it gets so good by the end of the year, the end of the season. So I think it's definitely worth watching. Like I said, season 2 a little worse, but season 3 has been really good so far. So that's what I'd recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, is there a second spinoff on Game of Thrones?
Yeah, it's Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is actually that first season I think has been better than House of the Dragon, and it's really like it's a dramatic shift from the other shows, because Game of Thrones is all about like the power, like vying for power. Plus you have this threat from the Night King, and then House of the Dragon is people vying for power. And I'm sitting there like, if I'm like part of the small folk, I'm like, I don't care who's king, like what does this matter to me, but Night of the Seven Kingdoms is about this guy who he's just a hedge knight. He's trained under a knight. And he's an old man. He passes away, and so he wants to kind of just prove himself. And so he just he goes to a place where he wants to fight in a tournament to prove himself as like being like a quality, like a good knight, and it's just all character progression. It's so good. Like the characters there are just tremendous. And this is like 80 years after House of the Dragon, so about 90 years before Game of Thrones. It has to do with I think they mentioned him briefly in Game of Thrones, Sir Duncan the Tall.
I remember that name.
Yeah. So he's like huge guy, and like he's so oafy. Like it's so funny. Like he meets with the prince at one point. It's a Targaryen, and like he's like the prince gives him an opportunity. He's like, thank you, and then he like goes to leave. And he like turns the wrong way. He's like, oops. And then he turns like he's just so clumsy. But you get to see him like he's just so naturally strong because he's so big. And then you get to see him like just develop as a character, like gain more confidence because he's just just being a hedge knight. He's just like kind of new to this. And then there's something else that's revealed that's kind of like makes you think otherwise of him. But it's a great show if you like character development and stuff. It's really good. If I had to recommend one of the two, it would be that. It's only been 1 season though, whereas House of Dragons 3 seasons. But I think both are really good, except for the few episodes in season 2 of House of the Dragon. But everything else has been good.
I'll have to check them out at some point because I have about a month here until all of my prime time viewing is just the NFL.
Yep. I know.
Speaking of character development, I got my haircut yesterday. The woman's name was Fatima.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She cut my hair and then she was like, remember me how I was? And then I was like, what are you talking about? That part didn't happen. The rest of that story is true.
It would be awesome if she didn't say that. She liked the show and she kept saying that to people.
She should say that to everyone after she's done cutting their hair.
I know.
Told her that.
I know.
The show I've been watching that just finished their 15th season, King of the Hill.
Oh, wow.
I love that show. I didn't like it as a kid. Now I can't get enough of it. They come out with a new season like once every 2 years. I binge it in like 3 days.
What's changed your mind about that? Because I felt the same way. It was always like right after The Simpsons. Or I think it was between Simpsons and Family Guy, if I'm not mistaken. And like it was always like the show that I was like, I'll just get through this to get the Family Guy. I was already watching The Simpsons. Like, what changed your mind about it?
Well, I think we were kids back when that first came out.
Yeah,
and I think the target audience for that show is like 35 to 65-year-old Republican men. So I wasn't that back then,
Yeah.
and now I am that. And it's just there's just like a bunch of like they're not hilarious one-liners, but it's just like one of the episodes is based off of the whole episode is Hank is trying to figure out who's parking an electric vehicle outside of his house, like on
Okay.
the road. He's
Okay.
like, oh, there's an electric vehicle on the road, and like they're trying to figure out who it was, and they stake out to see if they can figure out who's going to move it because they're going to like clean the streets or something the next morning. And then it moves by itself because it's got the self-driving feature. And they're like, oh, I know. It's. I'm telling you, it's one of those deals where if you revisit it, and maybe not the old episodes are great too, but
Yeah.
they've come out with a couple of new episodes or
Okay.
new seasons last
Where's
couple of
that?
years.
Where's
I feel
that
like
on?
that's one where we're the target audience. That's all
That's
I can
funny.
say about that.
Where's that on? What streaming service?
It's on Hulu, which I think they
Uh,
merged with Disney Plus
yeah.
now.
Yep.
So it's just, I mean, they're both of them are Disney, but yeah, I don't know, we're the target audience. That's all I can say about it.
That's funny. Speaking of target audience and not being the case, um, have you ever gotten into like Curb Your Enthusiasm and stuff?
Yeah, despite my difference in politics with Larry David,
Yeah.
I loved Curb Your Enthusiasm. I've been watching his new show, and his new show is a ripoff of
Yeah.
Drunk History, and 90% of the jokes are just recycled Curb Your
I know.
Enthusiasm jokes.
I know. I was going to bring that up. The I forget what the show is called. It's the Larry David History Show.
Yeah.
Where he plays himself in the past random history moments. I thought some of it I thought was really funny. Like when he's in the foxhole with the soldiers, and the soldiers like, hey, look, this is what I'm coming home to. He shows a picture of a woman. He's like, ah. He's like, what do you mean that? It's like, take her to the movies. So I won't take her to dinner. I thought that was funny. And then like the one skit where he sits next to Rosa Parks and she moves back to the bus because she doesn't want to be sitting next to him. Like I thought that was really good. And then the last one I saw, and I'm sure you were like, what the hell is this? The final skit of episode 2, where George Washington is saying, I don't believe anyone should be in office for more than 2 terms. And then Larry David standing there is like, hey, what if there's a narcissist who wants to be in office for 3 or more terms? Or what if he stages an insurrection? And then Jimmy Kimmel's there randomly. It's like, come on, this is so bad. Like, it's so like, how do you not even bring up FDR? Like, forget like bashing Trump. Like, how do you not even bring up FDR for this? Like, but I thought that was so stupid. Like, it's so cringe. I thought, like,
well, he did that again too in a later episode.
Oh, did he? Okay, I only watched the first 2. So what did he do? What did he do?
Yeah, it was with so I think it was the polio vaccine, but then at the so it's like this. The sketch is almost over, and then out of nowhere, Bobby Kennedy is the neighbor, and he starts like, they go into the whole. He starts saying all the Robert Kennedy stuff, and then they just tear him down for like 5 minutes. And the really interesting thing about that is not only was that also, it was over the top in the same way as the George Washington sketch, but Cheryl Hines is Robert Kennedy's wife.
Right.
Cheryl Hines, like, his wife and then ex-wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And, I don't know, like, I'm a Republican, but I'm one of these guys where, like, I'm not going to disown one of my friends because I have differing political views. I might, like, make fun of them to their face, or like, like I told you, my best friend, Ray, he's a Democrat, and we make fun of each other about it. I'm not going to not going to cancel him or whatever because we have differing views, but it's weird. It's like Cheryl Hines saw an interview and she's like, she's like, I still like Larry David, but he won't talk to her anymore because of who her husband is. And that's weird to me. I don't know. That's weird to me.
I never thought once to not talk to someone because of politics. I have
Right.
friends who are Democrats. I have friends who are Republicans. I have friends who are libertarians. Maybe not. I don't have friends who are communists. Maybe that's where I draw the line.
Well,
But
wait a
no,
couple of years. Some of the I'm going to get myself into trouble with the,
yeah,
but some of the views in
I
politics
know.
lately with
Yeah.
Democrats, you might have friends who are communists too.
Yeah. I'll have to say no to that. That'll be where I draw the line. And look, my parents escaped communism. They fled the USSR, so that I feel like I have to do that. But no, it's so I feel like it's so cringe to be like, oh, I don't like his politics. I'm not gonna talk to him. Like, it's like, who cares? Like, I don't know. And like, the people came out against like Jackson Dart, because he introed Trump. Like who cares what your politics are? Like if
Yeah.
someone introed Obama, I wouldn't care. Like, that happened before. Professional athletes have done that before. I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, doesn't who
Yep.
cares? It's like
Right.
people have different political views. Like, it's not a that shouldn't be a huge deal. It's become a huge deal for some reason. Um, but it shouldn't be. And so so for Larry David to not talk to Cheryl Hines because her husband is as RFK, like,
Yeah.
it's so dumb. I
And,
think that's so stupid.
and it's so prevalent right now. I mean, it's a weird thing in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's just us, but it's a weird thing. Um, you had that whole thing where people were saying, "Oh, if you know a Republican, you shouldn't invite them over for Thanksgiving."
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like, what? Like, really? I mean, and like you hear people when Hulk Hogan died, like happy
Mhm.
he died, like because he
Yeah,
once voted
awful.
for a Republican. He wore an American flag, or like people are talking about Mitch McConnell right now. These are still people,
Yeah,
like
right.
if Nancy Pelosi died, I'm not going to throw a party. I
No,
am disagree with a lot of things she's done, but I'm not going to celebrate her death or anybody else's death.
no, unless they're like truly evil. Yeah,
Right?
like that.
Of course.
Yeah. And like, I don't get it. I mean, it's really stupid. I think you always hear that. Like, I can't talk to a Republican. I really don't hear that from the other side. Maybe. Well, I have heard it a little bit, but less
Yeah.
so, less so. Um, but yeah. Anyway, it really sucks. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't finish Curb, by the way. I still have one or two seasons to go. What happened was my wife and I used to watch it, and then our kids were born, and it's like, oh, we don't have time to watch TV anymore together. Um, so I was just like waiting for her to watch Curb with her, and just never happened. And so I feel like at this point, I think if she found out that I watched House of the Dragon without her, she'd be pretty mad. So I haven't told her. I did tell her that I watched Severance without her. She got
Great
really,
show.
yeah, she got really upset about that. And my defense was, and it was true. This is actually true. I don't know if you listen to Tim Pool at all, Timcast IRL.
No.
He does a 2-hour live show every weekday on like mostly political stuff. But they talk about some cultural things too. But he's the one thing I don't like about him. He spoils stuff like very quickly, and like he blurted out the end of Severance, the most
Wow.
recent season. I'm like, like, come on, man. And so I told her, I'm like, I already knew what happened. Like, I heard on Tim Pool's show, and she was still mad, but I'm like, I already know this. And like, my defense for House of the Dragon is like, I know this. I know a lot of the stuff that happens just reading the books from, and so so I feel like that's not, it's not cheating either. But I have not watched some other stuff that we've been into. I can't even think of like some examples, but the one show on Apple where the baby, where it's the one with the baby. I can't remember. It's the M Night Shyamalan one. Was it
Oh, you
look it
told
up.
me about that one.
Yeah, baby show. It was Servant.
Okay.
So we were watching that together, but we had to stop because the baby cried in the show, and my wife was like paranoid that it was one of our children crying.
Yeah,
so
that shouldn't be allowed in TV shows. I'm with her on that.
yeah,
Don't put knocking on doors or babies crying in TV shows.
yeah, or police sirens and songs when you listen to
Yes.
the radio.
Yes.
That's got me a few times. No, I agree. So like we had to stop watching that. So I haven't watched that, for example. So I was just waiting for her on that. Um, but I don't know. I feel like we've watched different shows. And there's a lot of stuff coming on Netflix next week. I remember, I don't know if you ever do this, but like seeing like the preview scroll, like they have those like a picture and then it says coming soon. Like
Yeah.
there were like four. I can't remember what they were, but there were like 4 or 5 shows that looked interesting. They were like coming August 6th or August 7th or August 5. Like so, I was like, okay, so we have just in time for preseason. We have we have some shows to watch. Luckily, preseason's not every night. Did you remember what that show was that you said that you watched a bunch of
Yeah,
it?
it was King of the Hill.
Okay,
We watched. There's another app. Apple TV is great. I feel like everything I watch on Apple TV is fantastic. There was
yeah,
one called For Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm, and
okay,
that was pretty good too. James Marsden was in the last season of
okay,
it, so that was good too. But yeah, I King of the Hill was definitely what I was thinking of.
okay. Okay, yeah, we'll have to talk more TV shows next time. But yeah, anything else before we sign off? We did have one last question. What do you think about James Conner? I mean, what's the role here? Like in PPR leagues, like that's the only time you get use out of him. But like, I didn't even draft him. I did he get drafted here? Let's see. He
I
did
think
not
he
get
did.
drafted.
He didn't.
Uh, I don't think he did. No. Let me see. Okay. Connor. No, he did. See, James Connor did not get drafted in this draft.
Wow.
So I mean, if you're talking real, I assume you're talking about fantasy. Fantasy is just not relevant. You know, if Jeremiah Love or Algier gets hurt tomorrow, then you sure, then you start thinking about him. But right now, he's just waiver wire fodder. And really, you probably need two of them. You need both of them to get hurt for him to be like really relevant. Um, if you're talking about real life, I like him as a real life player. He does a lot of good things on the field. He's going to be on third down for Arizona. He's going to be useful for them. But as far as fantasy, just it's nothing there.
Yeah, I could see him ending up somewhere else. I just don't know if it'll be, but in the preseason or at the trade deadline. Best
Yeah,
ball, that makes a gigantic difference. If
yeah,
a running back gets hurt and he gets traded, or something happens with Josh Jacobs and what he's got going on there, and he ends up in Green Bay, that's huge. But if it happens in week 6, then you're taking a bunch of zeros in best ball.
yeah. You can't do that. So, yeah, he could be traded by the deadline. I feel like Trey Benson. If someone's traded before the season, I think it'll be Trey Benson. But yeah, Connor. I mean, once they realize, and I'm sure they know, but like once the Cardinals realize that like they suck, like they just might trade Connor and be like, hey, you can go to a team, maybe have a chance to win championship. Team's running back goes down. For example, like the Bills lose James Cook, then the Bills could acquire him to pair with like Ray Davis. I think
Yeah.
that'd be pretty decent. So yeah, I think it would be something like that. Brandon says only a few more days. It'll be a Texans camp. That's awesome. Yeah, so have fun there. The Texans are the only team I don't have exposure to for the AFC for the Super Bowl. So I'm a little concerned about that because like you were talking about how the Texans receivers look better. Maybe that means Stroud will look better. The offensive line should be better. The defense should still be great. They have a better running game. I think you could make a case for the Texans being a really good team this year.
Definitely.
And
It all depends on CJ Stroud. And Brandon, I
yeah,
feel like Brandon went to Texans camp last year too. Brandon, say hi to my buddy Cody Stutes over there.
nice. Harambe Slayer, $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Harambe Slayer. So joking before, well, that's truth in every joke, but 51 cents YouTube would give us probably it's like probably $1 or $2 that we get from the show. But now with this $4.99, we're up to 50 cents. We're up to $5.50. So that's a huge difference. So thank you so much, Harambe Slayer. Yeah, I always say YouTube pays us nothing. It's quite sad. But yeah, that it's a big help. I mean, like every show, if you guys give us a few bucks here and there, it really makes a big difference. And I really appreciate you, Harambe. We'll have to have we'll be talking for sure in the coming weeks now that I'm back from Vegas. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, we did a draft and we're talking TV shows, but we're about to sign off. Apparently, Rutledge playing center and pancaking Aziz at practice.
Okay.
Okay, interesting. And then yeah, my first thank you so much, Harambe. Display. No, it's okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever. Always read your chats anyway. So thank you so much. But yeah, like I said, we're about 2 hours here. So like any final thoughts on the way out? You want to plug NFLroughdraft.com? I'll put it on the screen here.
Yeah, we're switching to a Substack,
oh right, yeah, I
we're
remember
not
this.
even
Yeah,
up
I
there
remember
right
you saying that.
now.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just happy that training camp has started, and that this is the time to really start paying attention to the news, and it really actually starts to matter, unlike mini camp. And again, the first few days we don't want to overreact, but we definitely already have some interesting news with Jordan James is hurt, and Pearsall might miss the season, and Chris Brazzell is going to miss the season. So, and I don't think I had any other notes about. Yeah, those are the biggest stories for me so far. But I'm just looking forward to doing some content, and maybe I can show a few of my FFPC drafts on your channel again.
Oh yeah.
And looking forward to doing some more of these drafts as well. It's always fun to come on the show.
Yeah, always love having you on, Mike. It's you bring so much expertise here, and it's awesome having you on. And yeah, I'm curious to see how those drafts go. They're really cool to see. I mean, those are high stakes drafts. So people who know what they're doing are in there. So it's cool to see. It's not like you're not going to have someone like this guy drafted 11th who reached on all those players in the middle of the draft. So. Or I don't know who knows. Maybe you get one of those guys in there, but it's probably the cream of the crop. But yeah, Genty round 2. Yeah, we got Genty round 2. That was nice. It's funny about that pick. I never mentioned it. When I was drafting, I was like, I've seen Hampton go 2-3, 2-4, 2-5. I'm like, you know what? Let me take Genty here and then Hampton on the way back. But I'm like, oh wait, Mike's doing the even rounds. I can't do that. So
I would have taken Hampton on the way back, though. I would have.
Right. So I was thinking like, okay, let me just get my guy. I'll get Hampton at 10. And then you took Genty anyway. So it really could have been either way. It's funny how that worked out. Although you never know. I mean, look, if Hampton was left on the board, maybe this Turbines guy, maybe he would have taken Hampton, or maybe the Silver Knight guy would have taken Hampton. So I guess you never know. But it ended up working for us for sure. More surprised than anything. I figure it's not. Yeah, you weren't saying it's bad. Yeah. Genty, I think his ADP is like 12 overall. So the fact that we got him at 15 is a decent value there. So that was nice. But yeah, I was happy with how this draft unfolded. So that was cool. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow, I think, with Tom. He didn't tell me if he's available. So if he is, we'll be on. If not, then, it is a Friday night. So we'll take it off if he's not. But we'll definitely be back on Tuesday. We'll have a full slate of episodes next week. Something came up last night. That's why we weren't on. But that's a fluky thing. But anyway, we'll be back tomorrow or Tuesday. So thank you so much for watching and commenting. Thank you to Harambe Slayer for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Harambe Slayer. Really appreciate it. And we'll be back, like I said. And please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit walterfootball.com for tons of content. And there are going to be some changes on the site. We're talking about like a homepage redesign and everything, and we're gonna have a Substack, not Substack. We're gonna have a Discord. We're gonna have Discord this year. We're gonna post all the live picks there. It'll be only for premium subs of the site though. So we'll have news for sure. It's we have some stuff in the works. So looking forward to that. And like I said, we'll either talk on tomorrow or Tuesday. And I hope you guys have a great night. And I'll talk to you then.